the section of Europe that had a high value system during the Dark Ages were those on the Iberian Peninsula in the Spanish Portuguese area in southern France. And that high state of culture existed there because of Africa, known as the Moors, that come there and brought it there. So,
you play that shit. MVP. I'm telling you, I know I'm with the lawyer, so don't ask me. I know y'all are more. Just ask General Khalid. Nah, I'm a Moor. Got sense enough to know I'm a Moor. And ain't gonna never argue with you that I'm not a Moor. The General said he's a Moor MVP. Your greed for his name fame got me strong drunk. You never pull the trigger, just pose with a shotgun spawn. Wigging and hating, showing no love, but you're showing vacant. Licenses for ID at the police station. On top of that, no rights reserved on the contract. Dirty Moors finesse masters use old leaders to con cats. Show their picture but won't use their best coats. Only use the ones to bring in fiat notes from stations. Who wanted to raise wife. Even wore a fez at their wedding. A flicker at Snicks and all black organizations begging. Walking with limbs peg-legging. These conscious pirates. Fake freedom warners get no ratings when I'm irate. Conscious. I never sat down with Taj Gray one-on-one. Shooting yet he is my target, and Lean Day is my gun. All I do is crush a lot truth. My big pun and Fat Joe. Falling on you 50 feet below. Mike Fatso. Mark conscious coon frauds up with my firing squad. Tugging out emotions hard like pulling a slide. Larry's no professor. Show me some doctor's degree, son. We'll listen to I'm African crap until I see one. I'm not asking for much, cause I give more than I ask for. Morris MC, lay it down, not like asphalt. I won't fool though, some call me fool Joe. Trying to get under my skin, you must be a new bro. Old folk get full flow, lash with the thumb strap. Conscious cools wanna be Jay-Z and make a comeback, not on my watch. Slow till time stops, less than shot cause the rhyme block. Open up your mind blocks. Conscious.
Galatians, we have them there. Now, these are church documents. But remember, when it became a time in 1506, after we lost power in Spain, the Africans ruled Spain from 711. We were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-R-S. From 711 until 1485, 774 years, when we built and brought into Europe the university system, building the University of Salamanca, S-A-L-A-M-A-N-C-A in Spain, a copy of the university.
Without the killing, when we promote life, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke life, freedom, life is. So you might see him on the block getting the process. Might be talking the concept in the pocket. Occasionally wearing the dress when he's walking. He's turning heads, whispering gossip. But he's locked in and he's toned out. While we're locked in our own house. Studies the mystics, the atoms, the magi, wisdom of the ancients, and all out the fire. Possible mission, mental numbness, extract the substance, this mind of justice. Use the thought, don't care what's up before. As with all my skin, old man knows wrong. Many before the cross, no God, God. Placed in the devil's hand, thrown in the seven land. You thought my rituals, negro spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, you thinking so amenable. They're still criminal. In a world, digital, so pitiful. Mental survival, so critical, it's visible. Can you see that life is wrong? It's not that long. You're waiting from time to time. So this yourself. Something for alarm, something for arm. When graduate, such a beautiful serenade. When it's eating breath, I'm feeding the inner serenade. Whether the night smell great, rain when you're affected in life you need. Speaking through all night every day. So the computer is in all the all like the missionary day. Sun walking connected, live far the thing. That's how God looks back. We should see the crazy. But yes, being a prince, I'm a G. Only grown man, no joke. Your life, you don't know me. Don't make it happen to the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred years. I'm Jesus. A tough fear. The sun won't shine for what fear. This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
More social. Invest in your mind, and none. Real life rap. Spitting over traffic. Conscious thinking and living is intact. More social. Invest in your mind, and none. Real life rap. Spitting over traffic. Conscious thinking and living is intact.
What's the whole thing? The fun is the space. Going my rock. My spot is still fixed. Do your rap. Fighting things are going on. No devil face. Ain't Jesus. No offenders. No pretenders. I've been the I know my vibe. I'm the vibe. And I'm the legend. So that makes me my better reason. So just off and get it in. We are the birds. We are birds. So never no leave. Third eye seeing. Cause I'm participant already. They want to break me. Just like me. Running with my lazy. I'm a whole empty. So when it's crazy. Boy, look at you. Think you can take me for a fool. Like a man. Cause we flashy and cool. Like a foreign you. You can take me. Right on the road. And you are cool. That's the thing. You can take me. Better move. For my heart. I was in my tongue. Your resistance to target. You're feeling all night. And this is on the market. Then the sight. Never running. I knock it down. One soldier. Anything but like it. Don't turn out. We can't do the middle. Don't turn. Figure down. Fall down. Stop fucking soldiers. Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a fortune, everything that I never had, so I needed my fortune. Blowing like porcelain, hated better than sportsmen. Getting broke, tired of being broke. Poverty is why I hope you can see it till it's dope. Listen, keep it the flow, fight it, keep it the flow. Rain is the lethal weapon, we weren't need to know. When I speak, I'm a broke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when it let me grow. Under my nose, feeling the heavy smoke. The dirty cap to the chicken, boy, yeah, it's choke. The cost of living, higher profits, the value of prison. These little girls are study right, just a piece of pushing. Little thing is studying, it's just a real position. It's like the thing you never end the prison in the mission. I want to see this world with a one man. A couple one flame, me and the sweat flame. I want to see the world with a one man. A couple one flame, me and the one flame.
All right, peace, Moors. Let's get right to it.
You are now in the
host is Raheem. I left L. You are tuned into MHHS Eyes Wide Open Sons of Allah for December 2022 Gregorian calendar. This is being broadcasted there on Blog Talk Radio as well as simultaneously being shown on Canaanland Moor's 2 YouTube page by my brethren, the Noble Cujo Advo L. Peace, Moor.
Peace, Moor. Islam.
Islam. Peace, man. How self?
Yo, everything's peaceful. We're just watching this little snowfall we got going on right now. Snow, rain, whatever else is coming.
Oh wow, y'all got it already, huh?
Well, it's late. It's late, so we're not complaining. You know what I mean? It's December 1st, the first real one, so we're all right. That's that
right. Acknowledgement to all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Gotta give it up for, the natural ways. So yeah, man, I mean, that's a beautiful thing at the same time as far as the ecosystem and all of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the freshest water on the planet.
Yep.
Which leads right into the discussion, fam. As you have the title, you know what I'm saying? Moor is a nationality, not a religion, right? And I felt it was imperative to visit this because, of course, we on the cusp of our holy day, the 6th day, Friday, etc. But also as well, we are in the times where the winter solstice is coming up, and a lot of people have confusion or attitudes of being holier than thou when it comes to religion, like what they believe or what they think they know, right? Because that's what belief is. What people think they know, and we know faith and fruition is manifesting in what actually is, truth. I see this coming from certain Moors. Again, shout out all Moors. I am a Moor, and I know we have an illustrious history, but I see today like there's a lot of people acting as if they're holier than thou because they found the Holy Quran in Mecca post getting locked up, right? So now all of a sudden they found Islam in the joint, and they know it more than everybody else. They better than everybody else. Their attitude is, if you're not believing in the Holy Quran of Mecca, you can't be this, you can't be that. And this is no slight to that because some of us actually grew up around it. We didn't find out after getting locked up, right? And I just wanted to touch on this because, people are taking the aspect of what their religion is as if that is first and foremost to their nationality, and it is not. Your nationality is from birth. Your choice of religion. If I say today, I want to be a Buddhist, I'm a Buddhist. That's what I am. I have every right to do that, right? And still understanding, understanding, and overstanding that is one of the one of the creeds created by Moors. That doesn't make me better than somebody who is into Islam. That doesn't make me better than somebody who is into the Bible. Notice I didn't say Christianity. I said the Bible because the Bible is inherently not Christian in origin. But that's another story, right? So, you know what I mean? I think that when we take these attitudes of I'm following the Holy Quran in Mecca or I'm following the Bible, it's like, well, which one, right? Because every book has versions now, right? You got King James Version, New International Version, you got the Holy Quran in Mecca, you know what I mean, which is by Yusuf Ali, and you got other ones who are absolutely, provably tampered with. And these are the books that people are holding up saying, I'm following this, and if you're not following this to the letter, you're not right and exact. Well, all these books can be questioned as, are they original? Or is your perception of what's being said original? And whether you say your religion is, you're a Muslim, like you really need to understand what that is first and foremost, and who named people, specifically Moors, Muslims, right? And what does that mean? And why would it have to be a versus, you know what I mean, when we talk about Muslim versus Muslim, historically, by all true and divine records, Moors were known historically as Muslims with an O. But we know it's the same thing. So it's like when I see Moors taking this attitude of, I read the Holy Quran in Mecca, I'm holier than thou. It's almost laughable, but it's sad because it's a very ignorant state to be in, especially when you consider our history as a people. Like, for example, in the region I'm from in the north, in a part of Jersey, there was a church actually named after a Moor. As a matter of fact, not just here, many of them are, right? But its function was utilized for Moors, right? These were real people who were doing things to see certain results correlating or pertaining to freedom. So in a part of South Jersey, there's a church called the Othello Church, right? Well, we all know Othello was the Moor. It was specifically named that because of Moors, and it was an operation on the Underground Railroad, quote unquote. So how do we then say, well, because we're Muslim, we're going to disrespect, people who are in the church, right, or so-called church, or the history of it, let me say that, as far as our people are concerned and what they utilized it for. Like before there was a Moor Science Temple of America, these were the religious institutions that had to be utilized for those protections at that time, right? And there's a rich history with it. You can look up for yourself and do the research and knowledge on your own time about the Free African Society of Philadelphia. These were free people in the North, specifically Moors, you know what I mean, who were about freedom, but they were
doing it through the church. I'm not sitting here saying anybody should go to church. I'm saying when we consider our history as a people, it transcends your religion. Whether you claim to be Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Jewish, whatever, a people have a history of establishing all of those cultures. So if we get caught up on, I practice Islam and, because of that, I'm on the right path. I could say the same thing a different way. If I say I practice peace, that is my religion. If I said that, I technically wouldn't be wrong according to Noble Ali, right? Because in the literature, when he has the piece about what is Islam, he tells you that Islam is peace. Islam is the religion of peace. Okay, now what? Right? So, I just wanted to make it like clear off the top, like, when Moors do this secularism thing, I'm not jacking it. I definitely recall in my come up in my lessons and being around certain elders that one of the things we should not do is get caught up on titles, like whether that be, consulate general, whether that be sheikh, whether that be whatever. Like, do the work. Forget the title. If you do the work, the title comes with it, right? Like, and people are just getting caught up on claiming stuff and really contradicting everything they claim to be. So even in the Holy Quran in Mecca, it speaks about, learning from the quote Christians and Jews, listening to them because amongst them is much wisdom. It says that in the book. I'm not advocating to be a part of any religion. It's just in a more mature stage of life. At this point, for me, it's like I see that all of these things had their function and some way to benefit people, whether that be through morals, manners, whatever. And I'm not saying everybody got it all down pat. I'm just saying, like, regardless of your religion, we are a people first, right? And when we lose that, that is what, that's where nations start being divided, right? Because even we could go back in time when, Moors were fighting the Spaniards, and you had Moors fighting for the Christendom side, and you had Moors fighting for Islam. That's really nothing new. So what I'm saying is if we don't learn from that, you know what I mean? I get it. We may not all see life the same, but as far as a nationality, Moor is a nationality, not a religion. Much like Islam is not a nation, right? It is a creed. It is, you know what I'm saying? Like there is actually, like we say, Nation of Islam. We know that Islam is not a nation. It's a creed. So when we start acting as if, a creed is a nationality, it shows our incompetence level. And you know what I'm saying? The certain Moors who are on this holier than thou kick really need to fall back because y'all are showing the incompetence, right? So yeah, I just wanted to start there. You know what I mean? Like Moor is definitely, and I also want to say again how Moors have been venerated through all religions, even going back a few years ago when we went to Pittsburgh, and I didn't see it, but I seen the picture. I recall you, Brother Yusuf, and Amazite was speaking about, if I'm not mistaken, it was St. Peter the Moor being on top of a church.
Or St. Benedict.
Now,
St. Benedict.
St. Benedict. There we go. St. Benedict the Moor. So what is it about the church that has this veneration for Moors, right? Like we know the first Geneva Bible, they were speaking about Blackamoors. And again, this is all pre-MST of A, right? And I'm not slighting it. I'm just saying we have a history that goes further back than just 1913, even though that history is important, very important for this day and time. He was reaching back for something to bring it up to that time so that we would notice and could have these discussions or be aware of these things 100+ years later. Look at this, the conversations we have, the information we're finding out, right? Like that was the point, so that it wouldn't be lost. You know what I mean? Like this history wouldn't be lost. And, the secularism in certain people's attitudes because they got locked up and found Islam, like many of our brothers and sisters do. You know, it don't hit them till they're in the cage. But it's like, yo, listen, some of us grew up on this, and you know what I mean? It's nothing new. And even knowing that prior to even hearing about Noble Drew Ali, it still is an attestation to why Noble Drew Ali's information was so important, because it bridged all the gaps. When he said, you know, we honor and acknowledge all true and divine prophets, it can't be stressed enough. Why? Because he was on a unifying mission, right? So to cut all of that off, when all of that goes back to Asiatic culture, Asiatic philosophy, and is really all based in astrology. So you got people so angry right now because they're, quote, and this is not all Muslims, please. I'm not saying that. I'm speaking on some who have this attitude as if they got Allah and nobody else does, because we know the root word of Allah is all, right? That's not excluding anything. Allah is all, everything, right? Including us. We, according to Noble Drew Ali, we are a part of Allah, right? So Allah is all. And, you know, all of these, quote, religions and holy books are really astrotheology. It really, that's what it is. It's cosmology. So we here on, you know, a week, 7 days before the winter solstice and whatnot. And some people may not even understand that, you know, this is actually a celebration of the Son of God, the S-U-N. But they'll be mad at CMB for having that on the cover, like we're not supposed to, you know, acknowledge astrology. Like Noble Drew Ali didn't say the stations of the sun is what's going to lead to victory in chapter 1 of the Circle 7, right? This is what he was saying, right? So it would, you know, be beneficial to us to really comprehend that all of these, quote, holidays that the Europeans kind of like hijacked and gave a European face to, they're really rooted in something natural that was a part of the first divine creed that Moors did found, right? So it's cosmology. It's the stations of the sun, which is a part of, you know, our religion, like understanding astronomy. For those who may not know, astronomy and architecture are two of the most oldest sciences on the planet as far as human activity and observation, right? And so with that being said, you know, it would be, you know, again, beneficial for us to know these things. So when we see it and these types of cosmological events are happening, we could be in the know that the Son of God is the one that we see every day. And it goes back again to what Noble Drew Ali was saying in the Moorish literature about religious controversy. The sun hangs at high noon, yet men see not the light. Men comprehend not the light, right? These are actual things that make things manifest. And some of us are still stuck on mystery gods, bro. But as a people, right, I just wanted to re-emphasize that Moors are a people who can practice many different religions, you know. According to what Noble Drew Ali was saying, you know, he wanted to get us on Islamism, but that didn't really technically bar the honor for all the other prophets of following and comprehending their teachings. Confucius, Buddha, Muhammad, Yeshua, and we could gladly say today, Noble Drew Ali himself, right? It's a proven fact. He was a prophet. So yeah, Moor, I wanted to start there with that because, you know, to me, it's just ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? People are on it like that. So yeah, Moor, I mean, I don't know. I know you see it more than anything. I'll be like, man, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, people are really playing holier than thou because, you know what I mean, they found the Holy Quran in Mecca and aren't even sure if the version they have is right and exact. Like, I remember a Moor coming to the Wednesday class with a pocket Quran. Matter of fact, it's funny. It was Merc L. He came to the class with a pocket Holy Quran. I said, go to Surah 2, number 138. And he went to Surah 2, number 138, and it said, Allah is the best at coloring, and who could color better than Allah? Now, we already have the Negro black and color degree. I said, this was before, the hostility and whatnot. I said, do that sound right to you? You know what I mean? Does that sound right? His face was just straight shot. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yeah, that don't make no sense. First of all, you know what I mean? The Holy Quran of Mecca will never fit in your pocket. That's not, like the thickness of it. How many pages? Like you could downsize a circle 7 for sure. But how thick a Holy Quran of Mecca is, it would never fit in your pocket. But so when I told him to do that, you know what I mean? He looked at it and it didn't resonate with him. He was like, yeah, this can't be right and exact. And then we went to the one with Yusuf Ali, and it says that, quote unquote, our religion is the baptism of Allah, which made more sense because it's like, even correlating with the circle 7, sins are washed by purity and life. So the aspect of baptizing, that didn't come from the Christian church. That was an ancient ritual, you know what I mean, of cleansing and the purity rites and all of that. So that's what I'm saying. When people get hung up on what religion they think they belong to, they're losing a lot of connection to different aspects of a history or a culture of a people in general, the most ancient people. Because remember, Noble Drew Ali emphasized that our foremothers and forefathers were founders of the first divine creed, right? There were all types of, creeds that, were gory, you know what I mean, sacrificial, all of this, and, it was learned that, okay, Allah doesn't want the sacrifice of blood and chicken heads and, you know what I'm saying, cow's heads and horse, like that type of stuff doesn't necessarily connect you to a higher power. It might be something in that, but that's not it. You know what I mean? That's not all. So yeah, more. I mean, we just wanted to start there. I didn't want to be too long-winded on it, but I know we're gonna get into an image later and break that down, correlating back to this topic. But yeah, more. That's how I felt about it, because I know that historically, like when Noble Drew Ali says all true and divine records, from my studies, all true and divine records, Moors are historically referred to as Muslims opposed to Muslims, but we know that it's the same thing, but the divine records say Muslim for what that's worth. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, more.
Islam more.
You have the floor for now.
Islam more. One of the things that you brought up too that I wanted to touch on for a sec was the whole idea of the solstice. We have the winter solstice coming up, and one of the patterns that we've implemented with our temple is making sure that we go out and honor the gates, not just talk about it, but on the day of the gate, make sure that we're doing something, or on the approach of the gate, making sure that we're doing something, because we recognize that as we grow into this Moorish nationality, we realize how important our culture really is to everybody else, even though we don't see it ourselves. So one of the things that we implemented is making sure that we're doing things so we can actually create a culture for ourselves. So this Sunday we have our winter solstice walk that we do every year, where we have a meetup spot. We pick a trail and we just go in and walk for an hour or an hour and a half, or whatever the case is. Just one, so that we can get all the Moors together, or as many Moors as we can together in one place. And two, so that we can honor these things that are sacred to us specifically as Moors. You know, we know that there's other cultures that adopt the practice of recognizing the gates, the equinoxes and the solstices, and they have their own rituals that they do when those times come up. So, you know, we want to put it out there to Moors to make sure that they're recognizing these occurrences that happen, because as we know, everything is based in cycles. So, you know, it's not something that is not going to come back around again. You know, what goes around comes back around again. That's just what it is, right? So that's this Sunday we're going to be doing our solstice walk, and we're going to be walking at the Beltline Trail. So we're going to be meeting up with the Moors at 10:30 a.m. At Young and Merton Street. There's a parking garage there, so we just meet at the parking garage, and then we'll go on our walk for an hour or whatever it is. Now, the interesting thing about this trail, the reason why we take Moors on this trail as well, is because the trail is a indigenous railway used to be there. There used to be a railway, and then they took the tracks out. It was a path, an indigenous path that they made into a railway, that they moved the railway, and then now it's just a path that people go walk on. But what's crazy is that along this path, it's in this area where all the houses are you know, pretty much mansions around there. So as you're walking on this path, we you have, you know, people with the full basketball court in their backyard, and the double deck swimming pools and things like that. So just certain things, because we also realize that Moors have been so disenfranchised that you know, things like mansions and living a particular life, you know, having a cottage and a lakefront property and all that stuff, are things that many Moors haven't even experienced, that they don't even know what that is. Having multiple homes, you know what I mean? Majority of people only been in their apartment or been at their mom's house or whatever the case is. So part of that as well, using that trail, is, you know, because we know that if you think it, you can achieve it. So part of that is so that when we walk these trails, or when we walk this particular trail, the visual is there, that you can see for yourself how people are benefiting off your birthright that you didn't know about, and how much work it's going to take for us as a people to get back to that place where we're looked at as Mansa Musa, we're looked at as Gibral Tariq, we're looked at as, you know, Empress Europa, we're looked at as, you know, the gods of the planet again. It's going to take work to get there, and a lot of that work starts with self. And the best way to be in tune with self is to be in tune with the universe. And again, which is why we have our solstice walk, so we could be in harmony with the universe. When the universe is doing its things that it does, that we make sure that we're there to do the things that the universe does with the universe as the universe is doing it. So that's this Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Walk starts at 11 a.m. And so obviously there'll be no online or temple going on this weekend. But just had to put that out there with the little lesson on making sure the Moors honor our gates, making sure that we recognize that we've been stripped of more than our name and nationality. You know, we've been stripped of our culture, so we have to reclaim that. We've been stripped of our customs, so we have to reclaim that. We've been stripped of our family values, so we have to reclaim that. We've been stripped of, language and all these other things that were taken away from us in order to have us not have the upper hand against everybody else in the world who, it appears, it's not a reality, but it appears that, everybody has the upper hand on us, but honors to the Moors worldwide who found out the truth about their nationality and their birthrights, and they're living according to the customs and the presentation that was given to us by Noble Drew Ali, which is leading to what Miz was talking about, the idea of the religion and the nationality, and that those things not getting mixed up. Because, like, as we know, he brought it up again too, with Noble Drew Ali's writings. He told us about religious controversy, and the reason why there is religious controversy is because men are walking around as if they have the truth when they don't have it, and they have splinters, and they have crumbs, and they have dust particles of the truth, thinking that they have the whole truth and nothing but. So it's important for Moors to realize that when we say Drew Ali brought us everything it takes to save a nation, that he brought us everything it takes to save a nation. So there's no need for anybody else or anything else. Everything else is a reference point, but that's not where it's at. It's just a reference point for you to know that there's a reference point. What Noble Drew Ali is talking about. He wasn't just talking off the top. He was basing everything that he presented in documented facts that anybody could research if they're serious about knowing something. Anybody could research. And when you do the research, you find out one of the biggest frauds on the planet is people taking religions and making it a nationality. That's one of the biggest frauds on the planet. And there's very few people that run this fraud, but they do the fraud so well that everybody bought into it, even though they know better. Right? And you brought them up again. The Nation of Islam, who they're a fraud, pretending that a religion is a nationality, and the J people, who they're a fraud, pretending that a religion is a nationality. And it's bought into, no different than people bought into trans is a race or something like that. Right? So there's all these pseudo ideals that are running rampant right now, but due to the fact of the religious controversy that Noble Drew Ali is talking about, and not enough people speaking up for what the actual truth of the matter is. And the truth of the matter is that there's no way that a religion could be your national origin. It's just, it just can't be that. That's just what it is. And when we look into Noble Drew Ali's writings and his teachings, it's very evident that he was speaking from a national perspective, and he was speaking from a divine perspective, and religion has anything to do with anything, even though he mentions religion, even though he mentions what our religion is. The point that he was making, the focal point is that we are a nation. And if we are a nation, then we have a nationality. And once we get rid of the slave brands and we embrace this nationality, this Moorish nationality, then all these other doors begin to open up to you. Right? So when we have, one of the Moors said it in the chat that, the nationality card sets that up. That we honor all prophets. We honor all prophets, including Noble Drew Ali. We give honors to. Right? But what is he really telling you? He's really telling you that all these things are one. He's really telling you that there's no difference between them. If we honor all divine prophets, and then all divine prophets are attached to some type of religious way of life, then all the prophets have to have a nationality too, right? Now, when he said we honor all divine prophets, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, and Ali, and then he's talking about we're not Negro, black, colored, we're Moors, we have a nationality. Then what do you think he's saying about those prophets? That they're black or something? Or does the nationality lesson apply to all those prophets as well? And if the nationality lesson applies to all those prophets as well, then it's obviously not about the religion that they brought people. The religion that they brought people is not really what it's about. If we look at Drew Ali as a prophet and religion isn't what it's about with him, Drew Ali talk about economics more than religion to the Moors. He wasn't some Quran thumper. He told the Moors 2 times, study your Quran and your divine constitution. You go study that. He wasn't out there propagating the faith and all that stuff. That's not what he was about. He was about industry. He was about, spiritual evolution. He wasn't about sing hymns to him, or sing hymns to Allah, or whatever the case is. That's not what the message was. The message was that we are a clean and pure nation. How about we start acting like it? But again, majority of our people are too brainwashed. Majority of our people are under such severe European psychology that all they know is religion, which is why he went religious eventually. But this wasn't something religious. This was something civic initially. It became religious because our people are dumb and they're caught up in religion, which is why this mess up is going on, where people think the Moorish thing is a religious thing. No, it's not. That was Moorish psychology to get these dummies to proclaim their nationality, because all they knew was religion. And he knew exactly what he was doing, founding religious corporations and all that stuff in 28. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly where the people were at, and he was meeting them where they were at. Through his institution, forget his words. Through his institution, he was meeting them where they're at. And then if you check certain records, they're going to tell you, yeah, he had millions in the Moorish movement. 30,000, and that was it. If everybody was down with the program, if Oscar the Priest was down with the program, then they probably had millions. Because millions of people followed Oscar the Priest. Go look him up and study him. Even though he's not mentioned on nationality card and all that stuff, that we honor Oscar the Priest and Louis B. Anderson and all that stuff. They're not out there. They didn't get any real plug unless you were at the convention, unless you read the Moorish Guide newspaper. You didn't know about Oscar the Priest and all them people, Jesse Binger and all these people. You didn't know about them. You only knew about them if you were involved. But when people realize, hold on a second, Oscar the Priest is involved with this? Louis B. Anderson's involved with this? Meharry College is involved in this? These Moors have land in Arkansas and all that stuff? Why wouldn't people be involved? Why wouldn't people get down with it? But again, he knew that the people were in a religious mindset. So he founded a religious corporation He told the Moors, some of the best Moors are in the church. You think those best Moors stayed there? Those best Moors left the church, and they joined the temple. And it wasn't just them. There was Japanese in there. There was Chinese in there. There was Turks in there. And he even had foreign sympathizers that were down with the Moorish movement, that were down with Moorish nationality, that were down with everything that Noble Drew Ali was representing at that time in the 1920s. Down with it. They weren't questioning. They weren't like people today debating Moors about something. As soon as they heard Noble Drew Ali, they were down. They already knew what was up. Because everybody knows that these people who are misclassified as Negro, black, colored, they're the founders of civilization. Everybody knows that. But if you get the founder of civilization to be Negro, then you could take his stuff too. And he wouldn't even know that his stuff got taken. And then when his stuff gets taken, then he's going to be praying to some invisible God about to give them back their stuff and all that. Which again, Drew Ali told these Moors, well, if Allah is in you, what are you praying to outside yourself? If Allah is in you, isn't that a religion destroyer? God's in you. Religion's over at that point.
Right, but all the books are saying it. Even in the Quran, it says Allah is closer to you than your juggler thing. And then you got brothers mad at women for saying they are Allah, you know what I'm saying, or part of Allah. You know what I mean? And it's not like they made it up. This is in Noble Drew Ali's teachings. You know what I mean? Like, this is what Noble Drew Ali taught, but they're teaching other Moors like they're not on what Noble Drew Ali was teaching. And that's was like, how ignorant can you be? You're supposed to be a spokesman for Moors, but you're mad at in the Moor side. Because again, remember, when on the back of the 101s where it says our authority, that's the authority of the Moor Science Temple of America, right? Moors as a people can choose whatever religion they would like to. But if you are a member of the Moor Science Temple of America, it's no shade in that. You know what I mean? But yeah, Islam is the way, and that is inclusive. You know what I mean? But I mean, and it has its good aspects to follow these things. It's making certain people better, but some people still got to go through their own exorcism, as has been said, to really reach that purity of life. Whereas your ego is destroyed, and you don't see yourself as, quote, holier than thou because you chose a certain religion. And again, I was speaking about it earlier. I just wanted to give this reference out of Nature Knows No Color Line about Moors. Like, this is an excerpt from the footnotes on page 73. It's a brief excerpt. I'm, abridging it here. It speaks about Painter. Painter was a contemporary of Shakespeare. And he says, see also Sir John Mandeville, 14th century traveler, and he wrote, and men of Nubia, that is, quote, Ethiopia, be Christian, but they be as the Moors for the great of the sun. In chapter 17, he calls the, quote, Ethiopians Moors. And that's what Noble Drew Ali was saying. We're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian. We are Moors. We are a people, right? We have a nationality, regardless of what you claim your religion to be. So again, yeah, all of these holy books are important, but that does not, they're saying, well, you can't be a Moor if you're not Muslim. You can't be a Moor if you're not this. Like, you're that before any of that. You know what I mean? Like, you're a Moor first. The people founded these creeds, not the creeds founded the people. That's not true. You know what I mean? And that has to always stay in order when you talk in nationality. Like, nations create creeds, not creeds that create nations. So yeah.
Oh,
that's out of order.
Yeah, something else too that when you brought up about Moors could be any religion. One of the things that gets people when they meet me is that they go on to the wear, the clothing, the jewels, the crystals, the different beaded stuff that I wear or whatever like that. And they always ask that question. Are you every religion? Yeah. Yeah, I'm every religion. Yeah, I got Buddhist beads because I'm Buddhist. Yeah. Yeah, I got a Quran in my pocket because I'm Islamic. Yeah. Yeah, I got an Ankh because I'm Christian. Yeah. Every religion is mine. There's no somebody else's stuff and not mine. Everything is mine. Because we're the founders of civilization. So if we're the founders, then everything is ours. And the claim of it isn't oh well, I'm Christian, so that means I go to church. That's not what that means. Oh, I'm Buddhist, so that means I go to the Buddhist temple, and you haven't messed up if that's what you think that means. That's not what it means. Because I'm Islamic, I have to do salat. No, you don't. You don't have to. Like, it's not a have to that we say peace be unto him after I say Muhammad's name. I don't have to do that. But that's when you get into, are people dealing with rituals or are they dealing with their customs? A majority of the people get lost in rituals. If the Christian people put as much time into reading the scriptures as they do in singing hymns, Christians will be, especially Asiatic Christians, they'd be in a better place. If they put the energy. No, go ahead, Moore.
I've heard about it. Yeah, no, I've heard about it, but I may be mistaken. You may have posted it a while ago, but I know I've seen the video of members actually in the Moor Science Temple of America, and this is no slight to all the Moor Science Temples of America, right? But there are some that are being ran like that, where they're singing hymns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
literally.
I don't know all the lyrics. Yeah, I don't know the lyrics, but I think they replaced Noble Drew Ali's appellation with Yeshua's. I'm not sure, but it definitely was a church feel.
Yeah.
Like a Christian church feel. It was like dog indoctrinated in a sense.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I seen that too. So
and then that's part reason.
Like,
that's part reason as well why people think that this is religious and they want nothing to do with it, because they did exactly that. They walked right into a temple. As soon as they walked in, that's what they saw. That's COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
That ain't what Noble Drew Ali brought. That's COINTELPRO. That's King Alfred Plan and all that. That's the sellout element of the Moorish movement. As soon as you walk into a Moor Science Temple of America and you hear them singing some Christian song and they just took Jesus' name out and then put Noble Drew Ali's name there, that's COINTELPRO. But I yield more.
Yeah, no, it's important because even with Moors who are more so on the allodial side and who have already become or recognized that they are actually one with Allah, right, as the lessons say, like Noble Drew Ali's lessons at that, or add-ons at that, that Allah and man are one. Once you're at that degree, you start to see life a little different and move a little different, or a lot different. You know what I mean? You realize, like, oh, and I was endowed by my Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that's recognized in law. I'm gonna live life accordingly. You know, you know what I mean? Like I'm made in the image and likeness. You know what I mean? These are things that are recognized, and you got the people in the temple singing hymns who are saying that Moors living like that, who are at the degree you just spoke about, knowing that you Buddhist, knowing the Bible is yours, knowing the Quran is yours, knowing all of this. They will look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're the crazy ones because we got the degree. We're not doing that. So we can't be what Noble Dry Lee bought. We can't be about that when it's like totally the opposite. It's absolutely the opposite. And again, that's some, not all. You know what I mean? More Science Temples of America. So, yeah, but it's enough to where people are looking at it from that perspective and saying, all right, yeah, I don't want anything to do with this because it's not what, you know what I mean? Like, they're basically how they brought the colonial church concept into the Moor Science Temple of America, in a sense. As far as the idolatry, like, they're still idolizing Noble Dry Lee. And I'm not saying that to say he's not worthy of honor and acknowledgement or even, you know, veneration and things. But all of the lessons are saying, even when he was teaching us about the lessons of Yahshua, Yahshua was even saying, please don't praise me, when the lawyer was saying, I praise Jesus. Who is this Allah you speak about? Where is he? And he's like, Yahshua is like, no, don't praise me, praise the all. The Allah I speak of is everywhere. He has no walls, no borders or boundaries. He's everywhere, right? So to him is the praise. So yeah, you know what I mean? And we get caught up in idolizing and idolatry when, you know, we're supposed to be giving veneration to all the natural creation. Natural, let me say that, natural. So again, back to the order of things of how the universe is moving, and we on the cusp or on the brink of the winter solstice, meaning that things are headed back north. Things are starting to look up. Things will be, you know, more illuminated daily, meaning we're going to get 2 minutes of daylight every day. And 90 days is not that long of a time. We'll be right in spring. So, you know what I mean? This is natural order. That is following true religion, not dogma. It's that simple. Like, you know, it's that simple. So, yeah, I know there's an aspect of as above, so below. So while people are in a certain mind state about to acknowledge the Son of God, S-O-N, in their minds, they don't even connect the fact that this is a celestial, true and divine celebration, right, of the stations of the sun, which according again to Noble Dry Lee is what's going to lead to victory. That's another key, right? So this station of the sun, right, S-U-N, is really what it's about. And you have Moors upset again at C.M. Bay for highlighting this on the cover of his literature. You know, the fact that he's telling you on the cover, pay attention, that the Son of God, S-O-N, is actually the S-U-N, Son of God. You know, and people are downplaying him like, oh, you know, Moors and Masonry, that has nothing to do with Moorish culture, and all of that is falsehood. People are dismissing things they really don't even know about. You know what I mean? In the name of what they've been indoctrinated with, and not even that. What they don't even know is in the lessons that they say they stand on. Right, going back to you know, the misconception about Moors, it being religious, and you can't be a Moor unless you're a Muslim. Yeah. Like, all of that is nonsense. You know what I mean? That is absolutely nonsense. And they do the same thing with Masonry, when Masonry is really an ancient Moorish science. And they don't know that because to them it's a secret society. So as Nas was saying, people fear what they do not understand and hate what they can't conquer, right? So that's real talk. So again, I'm not saying anybody should get initiated. I'm just saying understand that those are things or sciences that Moor's founded. So when Noble Drew Ali's historical message to America, he's telling you to check out the contributions Moor's made, such as the Alhambra and the Taj Mahal. But what's the science of manifesting those things? It's called masonry. Yeah. Anything after that is a simulacrum of that, right? But that's the science. There's certain tools that have to be used to manifest like that. So again, I'm not saying again anybody should get initiated. I'm saying that these are certain sciences that we have to understand as far as our culture as a whole. There's always going to be a missing piece. Yeah. It's always going to seem like it's a missing piece. Yeah. So to put all that together, you got to gain the information in.
Now,
you can disagree with whatever, I mean, that's you're right too. I'm just saying, unless we're looking at the whole picture and actually get it, it's certain things is just gonna always not make sense.
Right. Yep. And this is the importance of the studying part with regard to Noble Drew Ali, because I just wanted to read this excerpt from the Encyclopedia of Black Studies. Right, this is the Encyclopedia of Black Studies, the Moor Science Temple of America. Political philosophy. As a nationalist organization, the temple membership places great emphasis on identifying themselves specifically as Moors and Moorish. Although the members reject the use of the word black to describe them, nothing in the official literature instructs them to reject Africanity. They avoid describing themselves as black because they understand that the term black has no international recognition as an actual nationality connected to a nation and government. Remember, this is the Encyclopedia of Black Studies. Moorish Americans also point to the negative meanings primarily associated with the term black in the English language. Although the membership does not directly assert an understanding of the ancient Kemetic concept of nomo, the power of the spoken word, they adhere to the concept's basic principles by refusing to identify with the pejorative Eurocentric designates of black, Negro, and colored. The temple membership believes that in doing so, they are spiritually, politically, and psychologically empowered. The official teachings declare that Moorish Americans are to propagate the faith and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America, but Moorish Science Temple do not practice religious orthodoxy. MSTA Islam submits to Allah via adherence to a simplified spiritual creed. Moorish scientists, as they call themselves, are taught to maintain love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Temple members are taught to engage the world with these spiritual principles in this order, with love being first and justice being last. Moorish Muslims are more concerned with following the basic spiritual principles than they are with following the more orthodox practices associated with the religion of Islam. In fact, Ali called Moorish science Islamism to distinguish it from the Islamic religion. Ali represents a homegrown teacher whose teachings are seen as having direct relevance to the Africans' peculiar conditions in the Americas, as evidenced by the fluid approach to the ritualized practice of spiritual laws. Nevertheless, his teachings are closely related to Sufism and to the Marabout and Murid Islamic orders of Africa, in that they follow the same basic elements of Islamic cosmology while remaining regionally centered and drawing their key guides and venerated ancestors from their own immediate community and unique history. The essential beliefs. There are 5 essential beliefs that emerge from an examination of the temple teachings. 1. That the Moors are an Africoid people with historical roots in both Africa and Asia, which are viewed as holy lands. 2. That there was a pre-Columbian Moorish presence in the Americas. 3. That African Americans, i.e. blacks, are direct descendants of Moors. 4. That the Moor Science Temple interpretation of Islam has been historically and theologically precedents that justify its credibility. 5. That the official declaration of Moorish nationality via the government-recognized MSTA results in greater political rights for temple members as full citizens under federal law. Presently, there are several Moor Science Temple-oriented groups that stem from the original Chicago MSTA organization founded in 1928. The groups are varied, with some putting greater focus on nationalist and political elements than others. Now, if that's the Black Studies Encyclopedia, and they know that much, because that's a lot that they said right there. The Black Studies people,
Yeah, that was off that.
that was a lot that they said. If they know all that, right? If they know all that, and they know, for example, a key point, if they know that the official teachings declare that Moorish Americans are to propagate the faith and establish the faith of Muhammad in America, but Moor Science Temple Muslims do not practice religious orthodoxy, that would mean that Moor Science Temple Muslims aren't Muslims. If Moor scientists, as they call themselves, are taught to maintain love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, then ain't no Moorish Muslims. Because if we're looking at this religious as divine, and Brother Kabahayawatha could tell us that science is seen spirituality, and spirituality is unseen science, then Drawley was right and exact telling us more scientists. Drawley was right and exact telling us Allah and man are one. Drawley was right and exact telling us about the higher self and the lower self and knowing the difference between the two. He was right and exact. And he absolutely removed us from the whole religious realm. He removed us from the religious realm because we're not supposed to practice religious orthodoxy. We're not supposed to be like the other people out there who have a religion. Now, when you hear religion and then you see people start getting into their rituals, that's not what's supposed to be for Moors. Right?
Yeah, because he removed the myth about it. Right? Like, he gave us the actual science. Right? Like, or led us to being able to comprehend it. A lot of, the institutionalized quote-unquote religions, it's still like a mystery God. Like, it's like God is something that is present, but you don't get to see it until the afterlife type of thing. When we know indigenous, or from an indigenous, aboriginal, or original perspective, you see God right now. You see Allah right now all around you. Like, you know what I mean? The ocean, the waves, the trees, the earth, the planet, the growth, the seasons, the snow, all of that. attributes, like real attributes of life. You know what I'm saying? Like these all have a function. So when you remove the mystery of it, like, then it is no need for that. That's what it was even saying in the Super 7. Like, you don't need a shrine. When you walk right up to Allah, you need no middleman. Place your hand in Allah's hand and all is well. Right? Like, that's what it is. So, yeah, I mean, there's no mystery with it. Right? That's what they use different societies for. Yes, there is levels and degrees of understanding different aspects of religion. Like the preacher isn't going to tell the congregation that the Son of God is actually the S-U-N Son of God and have them out here studying astronomy and astrology and cosmology. Like the preacher isn't going to do that because that removes him as the middleman or her or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So, but the book will do that for you reading it itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the key. Like it's not that it's not a divine and national movement. It's just like divinity is just that. Wherever you may find that at in a holy book, in nature, right? Because some people know how to read books but don't know how to read nature.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like
say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, some people know how to read books but don't know how to read nature, right? Like there are different things that happen that'll let you know. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like we shouldn't read books. I'm just saying it's more to what you read, what you see. Like, for example, what is it called? Not an acorn, a pine cone. A pine cone, right? Since we here on our quote holiday times and whatnot, a pine cone will close up when it rains or is about to rain. Like if you didn't know that, when you see a pine cone opens and closes, when it is about to rain, it has the intelligence to close up so that for whatever reason it's protecting itself. That's one way to tell or read the weather. Like it does it before it rains, and it never fails. You see it. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's so many different ways and so many languages that Allah speaks in, and we look at the man-made ones that we create and forget that. Hold on, there's another language of nature. You know what I'm saying? And it's just as important to be in tune with that for whatever that's worth. So yeah, man, like there's different aspects of reading, and it's not all black and white. You gotta read energy, read the room, as they say. You know what I mean? And nature, So yeah, more like that's where it's at, and that divinity is based in nature. Nature's law, nature's God, and natural law. That's why to this day, natural law supersedes any statutory law, right? And it's not just based off the pine cone, but no matter what, they can't modify that. They can't modify nature. I don't care what they declare. You got people changing genders and all that. That's not natural law, and regardless of what they do, they can never change the nature of what people are born as. It is what it is. Now they could genetically manipulate it, as far as like, horrible foods and toxins and things of that nature. You could destroy yourself, self-destruction, but, outside of that, like natural law is what it is. So, yeah, man. And that's basically what Noble Drew Ali was saying Islam is. Be at peace with everything. Be at peace with one's environment and be at peace with man, the species, right? So, yeah, it starts there. It starts there. And as some have even said, they'll tell you, even in the ancient occult writings, they'll say, like, listen, my religion is nature and to do good. That is it. That is all. That is my religion. You know what I mean? Who can you argue with that? Can't really argue with that, like that. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, we do that, and we'll say we're Christians, and then there's like 100 denominations, right? Then you say, oh, we're Muslims, and then there's many other denominations. So, what is technically Orthodox? You know what I mean? Like, everything is kind of like out of order. Everybody is saying this person, this group don't have it right, that group does, we got it right, they don't. And one of the things that was meant to unify us has become one of the tools of divisiveness. And it's only because of people's attitudes of this self-righteousness when, you know, the truth is one, you know? So, yeah, you know, and again, not to not, in a sense, how people end up being polytheists or whatnot. Even they speak about that in the history of the Moorish Empire in Europe, even while Moors in the East said that, you know, it was only one God, one Allah. They were still polytheists, you know. They were still idolaters. But, you know, nonetheless, there's a recognition that, you know, because you can't be mad at somebody who says, I see the divinity in the tree. You know what I'm saying? The tree might be their God. You know, as man unfolds, their God unfolds. Man's ideal is his God or her God, according to the lesson. So, circle 7 at that. So, I mean, depending on the person's perspective, you know, you got to respect how they see it. You know, but the aspect of saying, because you see it like this, I'm holier than thou. And it's like, things are learned in degrees. You just may know a little bit more than this person, or less, and think you know more. It gets really weird with that, you know?
Islam.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. More like certain things, people say, oh, birds fly south for the winter or whatnot. They actually follow the stations of the sun. That's all that's going on. You know what I mean? Honeybees, the same thing. You know, they're following the light, the giver of, you know, like one of the tools of Allah or tools of God to actually manifest life or to have life sustain itself here on this planet. Like, natural things know this. So certain birds do fly south, but really they're just following the stations of the sun. So what is the winter solstice? When the sun is at its lowest point in the southern hemisphere. And then it'll be coming back up, you know, ascending to the northern pole for the next 180 days, which will be summertime. And as soon as it reaches that point, it starts to descend again. That's really just, like you said, it's the cycle, you know. It is a cycle. And that, in that form of acknowledging that on a as above level, you know, that's really the key to heaven, because we'll look past all of these signs and sun, moon, stars, and think that there's some other thing out there, but these things don't have no relevance. Like, they're just there. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, these have a function. These are things you can actually see in the heavens. No mystery. It's an actual fact. It's not a mystery, deity, or none of that. Like, these things actually function. So, yeah, you know, more like, we can't stress enough how much astrology, cosmology is important. It is an aspect of more science, if you will. You cannot see him beg for teaching that. Noble Drali opens up chapter 1 of the Circle 7 with that. You know, the stations of the sun and the solar stars and the spirit of mighty Allah. He's talking like that. You know, these are the things that lead to victory. Noble Drali saying this. So that is embedded in what his message was as well, right? But it's just on us to know these cycles. It's not rocket science, really. Like, it's not hard to grasp the concept. Like, it's really not. And when you do that, like, it really does take the mystery out of these invisible gods, right? So, yeah, more, I think astrology, cosmology is important. It says a lot for the fact that when you go into the Library of Congress, which that building is Moorish, the Thomas Jefferson building, the architecture is Moorish, all of that. Like they have this beautiful marble floor, and all around the floor is the signs of the zodiac. If the zodiac wasn't relevant, why would it even be there? Why would it be in the Library of Congress, Thomas Jefferson, right? Like, so these are the things we really got to reconsider and consider. You know what I mean? Because it's not for nothing. Like, it's definitely not for nothing. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, to the picture on the screen, right? For those who are listening via audio, if you tap into Canaanland Moor's YouTube page right now, you will see there is an image on the screen. We're about to break that down. It was also said in the Brotherhood, the Silent Brotherhood of the East, that man must learn by signs and symbols. And this is a picture from the Library of Congress. If you blow it up a little bit, like people could see the detail of it, because that's not just a painting on the wall. Like that's actually mosaic tile, right? Like the detail on it is very serious. I remember last month we were speaking about being at an art show, and we were mentioning how even in the Circle 7, it mentioned about having a veneration and the utility of the arts to the public and whatnot. And just knowing that science, you know, you get to see things different, you know, when you're in these places. Like, again, reading nature, reading outside of language, outside of vernacular, outside of what's the word? Letters. You know what I'm saying? Just letters. Like, there's a lot to read. You know, you got to read a room. And I found that in the Library of Congress, that's how it goes. Like, you have to read the room. And again, I can't never really talk about this without giving acknowledgement to Brother Setenra for setting up that trip to go to the Library of Congress. I know Moors have been there many times. It's like a staple experience, you know. But yeah, at that time, it meant something, you know, in that point in time to take forward. Because I've been, but was so young, it was just there. This time I got to see a little different. So the fact that this is in the Library of Congress, there's a compass. All of this is mosaic tile. So the artwork, first and foremost, has to get its just due, right? Like, that's on mosaic tile. That's insane. And it's so precise. There's a compass, a square, that's enveloped in a circular mistletoe. And the signs and the symbols were speaking crazy because, again, we know that the compass is a tool we was taught about in chapter 5. So Noble Drali did, in fact, teach masonry, even though it may have went over some people's head because they don't know nothing about it. They think it's the Europeans and the secret society when, as he said, he took the covers off all secret societies. What does that mean? Right? What you thought was secret really is not. It's like open secret. But yeah, I wanted to go on and go in on this because, again, the mistletoe, like we know about the compass and masonry and things of that nature, and it was taught by Noble Drali subtly but blatantly too. But that mistletoe is saying something, it's saying a lot, and this is why I say, like, even when people say, well, I'm gonna go to the Library of Congress and look up AA 222141, that's cool. But if you get past all of this, right, to even get to that and don't recognize anything more, as you are not really, you're not in that right state of mind. Like, you're missing a lot to even get to the main reading room. Like, you'll be missing a lot if you don't acknowledge this. Like, a lot of Moorish information. So again, with no words actually there, how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, I wanted to emphasize why this picture meant so much because of the mistletoe and how we can get caught up in, again, religious controversy, right? Oh, I'm Muslim, so, you know, a mistletoe around the winter solstice, or they'll say Christmas, doesn't mean nothing. And the religious aspect, and that's cool. But as a people, it does mean something specifically to us, the original people, Moors. And what I mean by that is I wanted to go back to an excerpt from Ancient and Modern Britons by David McGritchie. Now, this is for Moors as a people, right, to recognize your culture and customs. So, again, I see the compass, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Moors and Masonry, we know that's a real thing. Like, one of the Masonic secrets is the history and knowledge of Moors. But we know that, right? But it's more than that. So the mistletoe, I want to make this correlation again. You know, this is one of the ornaments that they use around this time. The mistletoe and wreaths and things like that. I wanted to acknowledge this. All right, so on page 142 of Ancient and Modern Britons, volume 1 in the footnotes, it says other resemblances between the British Moors and the North American tribes have already been pointed out, as for instance, the reverence paid to the mistletoe. Now, this is again Ancient and Modern Britain. So when I'm seeing this in the Library of Congress, this is what's registering to me from previous studies. It's like, oh yeah, the mistletoe, the compass, mosaic tile. We know mosaic. Some people will call it Hebrew, whatnot. But all of this is Moorish. Just like inherently, in its essence and nature, everything in the picture is Moorish. No Moors had anything, but it's all Moorish. So I was looking at that and I'm like, okay, so the Moors of Britain and the North American tribes were also Moors. Their similarity was in custom. And remember, these are not Europeans they're speaking about. They're speaking about Moors as a people, right? And in North America, amongst the tribes plural and the Moors in Britain, both paid reverence to the mistletoe. But why? Right? Like, why did they? It was definitely something in natural custom, right? Like, it was in both in the Northern Hemisphere as far as parts of the earth. So it had to be something, you know, evergreen, like, because even back to the signs and symbols of these holy days or holidays, which people make attribute to Christianity, is really not. It's really, you know, universal. And a lot of these emblems that they use actually came from, you know, Moorish customs. And if we're caught in religion, we won't even see it. You know what I mean? Like, when we know as a people, whatever my religion is, I know when I see the mistletoe and I see the wreaths in the mistletoe, like, that is a reverence in customs and culture and history that Moors, not just of Britain, but as David McGritchie said, even in North America, amongst the tribes, gave this reverence. And today, we'll be talking about, well, you ain't follow this part of what Noble Drew Ali said, and Islamism, and, you know what I mean? And miss that, yo, these people, Moors, we have a beautiful, illustrious history. The Europeans got all of it from us. Like, they're celebrating something we are also supposed to be acknowledging, not in the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, we if anybody, we should be giving acknowledgement to these things, especially in this time of year where it's this winter solstice. And all of the emblems that they utilize to celebrate that, you know, and subconsciously attract you to it, whether you know as a Moor or not, unconscious or not, they're using your own culture to attract you to something that you may disown, or you may spend a couple of extra dollars because you're attracted to the imagery. But all of that is your culture anyway. So yeah, when I seen this picture, I seen Moorish. That's what I seen. I seen the mistletoe, and again, as you know, David McGritchie said, you know, there are many resemblances between the British Moors and the North American tribes who are also Moors, and one of them is reverence to the mistletoe. So it's like, and then it goes on, hold on, let me not forget this part either. It goes on to say, and the riding 3 times around the building as an act of solemnity, and of course the use of war paint. So 3 times around the building, that's circumambulation. That is also a ritual. You see, so yeah, man. Like I seen Moorish culture in that with the mistletoe as well as the compass in the square, because I know that masonry is a science that we established. So I can look at a building and how it was built. Like again, you know, you could talk about, and it's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like building a pyramid with a bunch of bricks, but the tediousness that goes to laying down all those mosaic tiles, that has to be like a really tedious, precise task as well. I mean, it may not be as hard, but I mean, if you really look at that artwork, that's all mosaic tile.
Yep.
That in itself is like, who had the patience? You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Like, big or small is both like a major task. Whether it's mosaic tile or cinder blocks that we can't figure out how much they weigh, all of it is work. You know what I'm saying? It's masonry, it's adding on, it's building, it's precision, it's mathematics. That's the science, Cujo, like you were saying, you know.
And just to put just
yeah.
for perspective, a few, and this is a number of years ago, I was working with this community organization, and they had an artist come in to do some what do you call it? They had an artist come in to do some murals, and one of the murals that they were doing was a mosaic tile mural that they wanted the students to be, or the children in the community to be involved in this mural. So what they did was they got I don't know where they got this stuff from, but they got all these broken pieces of ceramic tiles. So they had like boxes and boxes of ceramic tiles or whatever. And the artist drew the image. They drew the image on the wall or whatever like that. And then they had all the students come through, and there was different shifts or whatever like that, where they would get to go through all the tiles to find the pieces that fit to make this mural out of like ceramic. There was sections that had mirrors on it. There was section that had different color, different colors of tiles. So you go to the blue tiles pieces, and then everywhere's that blue, you're putting the blue tiles there, and everywhere and this stuff this was probably about the size of maybe a average dinner table size, and the stuff was about 6 months just to do a dinner table. So if we're just, when you were talking about the mosaic tiles and the patience and what it takes or whatever like that, it brought me back to us doing that thing. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, if a dinner table took 6 months, how long does a ceiling take? How long does a floor take? You know what I mean? To lay this down with the precision that it's laid down in, that in the end you can look back and you could actually have a portal basically into a certain period of time that allows you to even stretch your mind into, because even when we were talking about the whole thing with the mistletoes, and when you look up the spiritual meaning of mistletoe and all that stuff, and that it's a healing herb, and it has no origin on earth. There's no roots. Mistletoes don't have roots. It grows on oak. So where this thing come from? You know what I mean? The whole ritual with under the mistletoe and Christmas and all that stuff, and all these things are relative to the 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 science or the mythology or the esoteric meaning behind this plant that has no origin. How did it end up in this time of year being such a significant part of this thing called Christmas or whatever? No, that has nothing to do with Jesus and all that stuff. What is this thing doing here? What part does this thing have to play?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then when you look at the image as well, again too, you see that they have it set up as, they have it set up as the circle 7. The mistletoe is making the 4 quadrants. The mistletoe is making the 4 quadrants. The compass and the square and all that is the 7 in the middle. When you go look up the whole thing with if you see the ribbon that's holding the compass, right? There's esoteric meaning behind the ribbon holding the compass, right? That's an actual thing, like a ribbon that we just think, you just use a ribbon, tie the hair, or you're giving a gift to somebody, you wrap it in a ribbon, and you think that's just for gifts or something like that. That's the actual esoteric practice, you using ribbons. So they got this ribbon in there, the things in a circle, the different colors that they're using. Going back to what you were saying, that when you really have the first eye open, you realize that everything is really more science that's around us. Things that you would not even think is more science is more science. But I yield the floor.
That's a major fact. Yeah, no, it is. That's why I was like, yeah, let's put this up, because this is seasonal to the times we in. Like, all year they don't really mention nothing about mistletoes till it come to about the winter solstice. And the fact that it's documented in literature we've been referenced to make sure we read, such as ancient and modern Britons. And again, I had a brother tell me years ago, I was like, man, you need to read the book Ancient and Modern Britons. Our disdain and ignorance level could block us from a lot of knowledge. It's the ego. Because what he told me when I said you should check out Ancient and Modern Britons, he said, I'm not British. That has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. But I'm indigenous to America, right? And right in the same book is telling you that this was a custom between the Moors of Britain and the tribes of North America specifically, right? So, you know what I mean? Like we could get lost. Again, that flower also looked like resembling the lesson of the ankh in the sense of the fallopian tubes on the woman. You know what I'm saying? Like right under the circle. Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot in this picture, and or that artwork, and this could go right over somebody's head if they don't know it. And again, this is in the Library of Congress, Thomas Jefferson Building. So when we talk more science, that building itself is Moorish. Anytime you see arches in history, by definition, that is something Moorish you are looking at. Like they can say whatever they want about Moors, but one of the indelible marks we left on society, in architecture, on this planet, is the arch from a historical perspective. And I say this with all due respect, that even predates Noble Drawley, right? So again, when he says, look at the Alhambra, right? Like that's what Moors really flex with the skill, you know what I'm saying? But Taj Mahal, etc. And I'm saying that to say, again, with this compass on back, to the circle 7 and everything, like the lessons of that in the circle 7 is definitely Masonic. You know what I mean? Like it is. That is the Masonic secret, is Moorish science, Moorish architecture, Moorish culture, philosophy, cosmology, among many other things. But yeah, so you know what I'm saying? Again, to tie it back to where we started at, people taking on the aspect of religion, right, dogma, and saying, well, I'm a Muslim and you Moors ain't studying with Noble Drew Ali. Like, no, and then, I'm not, again, this is not disrespect. Like, Noble Drew Ali didn't teach us about mistletoes. Like, we had to study Moorish history to find this out, right? So, again, back to the point when Noble Drew Ali said, get a good European education. That is an education of yourself. Like, because if you study Europe, you're going to find Moors. That's really what it's about. You do the history of Europe, you can't really do it without coming across Moors. You know, even if you start at the Blackamoor degree about Europe, you're going to see Moors depicted as royalty. You're going to see Moors have customs that have been embedded in what they call Europe. Like, you know what I'm saying? That are distinctly not European, but have been adopted due to the Moorish influence and culture that is historically undeniable. No matter what they want to say about Moors present day, like, you know, we are who our ancient foremothers and forefathers are, without doubt or contradiction, then, you know what I mean, we got to give reverence to this aspect of it too. But again, you know, people will cut this off. I don't want nothing to do with a mistletoe or a wreath via not knowing. It's ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's ignorance about themselves. Like, you know, they're utilizing your customs, your celebrations, calling it Christian when it is not. You know what I'm saying? And you not knowing no better, just dismiss the culture in certain regards. You know what I mean? And that was done intentionally. So again, I say, you know, those who are on this kick of I'm Muslim and holier than thou, and this is not a knock at all Muslims. I respect it. I'm just saying you have certain people in the Moorish movement who are coming as if because they're Muslim, they are holier than thou. And that is not true by the furthest. They lack knowledge of self. You know what I'm saying? And that's the issue. So, yeah, Moore, I mean, David McGritchie couldn't have made it any more plain. Mm-hmm. Noble Drew Ali couldn't have made it any more plain in chapter 5. You know what I'm saying? As far as why we use the compass to, you know, keep our passions in the bounds of righteousness. You understand? And the mistletoe there, David McGritchie, you know, let it be made known. This is a custom of reverence between British Moors and the North American tribes. So all these so-called Indians who are actually Moors have all of the same customs. They're the same people, but Indian is a misnomer. We are, in fact, Moors and indigenous to North America, Aboriginal and indigenous. So, yeah, you know, certain appellations or names, let me say that, certain names, Indian, Black, Negro, color, it doesn't really come with a connection to an ancient culture or acceptance of that ancient culture, because what the Europeans got is really your stuff, like you disconnected. And that's the truth. That is the truth. Like, all of this is our stuff. Even the celebration. It's the winter solstice, but they call it Christmas. It's really the winter solstice. You know what I mean? Like, all of it. The mistletoe, all that. That's us. So, regardless of what your religion is, like, know your history. You know what I'm saying? That's the point I wanted to make with this. The fact that regardless if you're a Moor claiming to be Muslim, Christian, like the people, if you're a Moor who is claiming to be Indian or whatever, that's you know, you definitely didn't do enough research if you stuck there. But these people are all Moors. The tribes of North America were Moors, and the, you know, people, the original people of Europe were also Moors, you know, all over the planet. And I can't stress it enough. So I think that first and foremost, as a people, what we need more than anything is to know our history. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, the divinity and religion is cool, all of that. I'm not knocking it. But what does it mean if you don't know your history? You can't know yourself or your chronology. Like, you start to see the world, present day, not something far away. Like, right now, they're still utilizing our culture, and some of us are still connected. They don't even connect us to Moors. They don't even connect the mistletoe to the original people of America.
Yeah.
Because they don't teach us in school. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just going over their head like it's some European thing. You know, Boscov's, Macy's, they use all these emblems when they want to have a, quote, Christmas sale. You know what I'm saying? They'll even sell you the mistletoe and the wreaths and all of that. It's an industry, but it's your culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just saying. Real talk. That is real talk.
And another thing to add in too is that, you know, we know that it's hard for a lot of Moors to get to places. But if you go to you know, because we're talking about Library of Congress, on the Library of Congress website, they have virtual views where you could go to all the different interior and exterior rooms and buildings, and they'll give you a virtual tour of everything. I mean, it's pictures. It's not like a video tour or whatever, but they have images of all the things that, you know, things that are in the Thomas Jefferson building, things that are in, you know, on the exterior in the different libraries and stuff like that, just so that you can have this visual, you know, since you can't get there. But, you know, it's pretty clear images, you know what I mean? And then they show you, you know, the view from the second floor, view from the first floor, view from the corridor. They got all these different ways or different angles that you can look at some of the stuff that's in the Library of Congress as far as the architecture. So we'll put that out there just so when Moors go to Library of Congress and you're researching, you know, documentary things, also research the architecture, because that's there as well.
Yo, everything in the Library of Congress is Moorish, man. The best advice Setenra gave to me when we went, he said, all I'm going to say is just look up. Look up. Right? I walked past a whole hallway, not even looking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was two more. They was looking at me like, damn, bro, you just walked past all that. And I'm like, man, because it's like that. You know what I'm saying? And look, the thing is, all of this is before you even get to any books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if you walk past all of this before you get to some books in the Library of Congress, you came in the wrong way, man. You know what I'm saying? You came in the wrong way. And I wanted to say, too, as well, he was talking about the visual tours. Bro, I had edited this video about 5 times, and every time it crashed on me. Like, I could never keep it saved in the edited format. So I am definitely trying to get this thing done with the video tour when we went. You know, but and I mean, I've been working on it for a while. And every time it crashed, I had to just step away from it. Like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna just leave this alone for now. But I wanted to show this image because, you know, nothing is ever promised, and I felt like this image was in season right now. Like, this is our last one for the year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to emphasize, you know, for our listeners and our family listening and who always join us every third Thursday when we do this, like, you know, keep this in mind because, you know, it means a lot. And it's a lot more Moorish things in there. Like, it's a lot. Cujo, I know you know.
Yeah.
I know you know. But, yeah, Senra, I know, you know what I mean? But, like, that's the point. The Library of Congress is so Moorish. And I wanted to say this, too, because, you know, people have been going on this campaign like they got Noble Drali and we don't, right? And these are people who live on the West Coast, and, you know, shout out to our brothers and sisters there. But they talk about Moors as if learning about masonry is some evil thing that we're up on. Like, no, it's not. It's our history. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean we're getting initiated in lodges and all of that. No, it just means we're learning about our history. Like, so again, somebody was trying to say, oh, back in 2009, Rising Tides was on the road trip and went from New York, stopped in Philly, and went to the Masonic Lodge in Alexandria, Virginia. Like, I don't know about where you from, but the history is out here.
Yeah.
You just gotta go see it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we was across the Great Atlantis and the Library of Alexandria was still operative, we would be going there too.
Yeah.
But this is what we got, and this is what we're checking out. This is what we have been, right? Like, so as it says in the Circle 7, and again, let me say this too, because this is no slight at all to our brothers and sisters on the West Coast. It's just somebody who I said will forever remain nameless to me, who was talking like that, because again, their ego and their ignorance. They think they know something that they don't. They've never been there before, Cujo. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they talk about you like you're up in Canaanland, like you're closer to this side of the world, to the region, than they are way over there.
Yeah.
And it's like none of this is far. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can actually go there. It's not that far. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's all I'm saying. Like, you have to see it. Like, you know how they say certain things, you just gotta be there. You just gotta see it.
Yeah.
If you haven't been there, you can't just go into these places. You don't know what it's like to walk into, George Washington Masonic Museum, again, pre-COVID, and you go in there and all your history is just venerated. They got Islam on the fest, Morocco, Medina, Egypt. Like, this is not a secret. We just didn't know that this is where it was stored at. So when we go to check it out, it's like, oh shit, we seen it for ourselves. They already know what's up. You know what I'm saying? So again, even at the Library of Congress, you know what I'm saying? It could be something as subtle as this. And you may not even know you're looking at a Moorish message. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really are. Like, again, McGritchie making it clear about the mistletoe and the reverence there between the indigenous or Aboriginal people of North America and the Moors of Britain. They're the same people. They had the same custom, right? Obviously, there was a connection. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And we are learning by scientists symbols. There's no shame in that. That doesn't mean, we are getting initiated in the lodge because we're learning about masonry. Some people may, and that's on them. But that doesn't change their nationality. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if a Moor said tomorrow he's going to go get initiated or petition a lodge, like, none of that is changing his nationality. I've been in places, and I'm not going to say no names. I've had builds with my brother, and we talk about Moors and masonry and the connection. Then we went to a spot where, somebody else, was on it. We walked in. There's a picture of the Moorish chief on the wall. This is a Mason. You know what I'm saying? The same Moorish chief that, all white is in the Philadelphia Art Museum.
Right.
Yeah, Mason got it on his wall in the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, look at this. I said, yo, this painting is called the Moorish chief. You could Google it right now. Mason got it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? And then the alligator heads and all of that. Yeah. I'm like, yo, all of this is Moorish.
And another thing to add in, too, is know thyself, right? It has to be appreciated that know thyself is a vortex. So when you go to these spots, make sure that you're booking yourself at least 2 days to go to these spots. Because I was hot that we didn't get to go to certain rooms and certain whatever, because the time just evades you. Like, time is really an illusion when you go to the Library of Congress. There's no time frame that exists when you're in these places. You know what I mean? Like much less going to a library or whatever like that. But when you got images and you know, and we're talking about, you know, pictures tell 1,000 words, and then you're sitting there analyzing these images and statues and, you know, different things. Just make sure you give yourself time. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Just make sure that you give yourself time, because you are gonna run out of it when you start going into these spots. Guaranteed you're gonna run out of it. So set it up so that you got 2 days, you know what I mean, 3 days. You can go there, do your little one through, and then you have a day or 2 more days to go back again after to pick up some stuff that you might have left. And as well, don't forget, it's almost 11 p.m. So if you have any questions or comments, the numbers scrolling at the bottom of the screen, just call in before 11, because at 11 you already know you can't call in after 11. But I yield.
But yeah, definitely, for sure. And Cujo, it may be longer than 2 days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the first 2 days and then come back a month later to relook and comb back over, or even a year later, or years later. And the thing is, now I'm not sure how they're doing it now, but for a while they were, once the pandemic happened, they were giving like, you could book a time slot. You couldn't just go in there and be in there all day like pre-pandemic. Like they were trying to get people in and out. So I don't know how that's going now, but yeah, definitely. You might want to really check that out too. I don't know if you could still just walk in there, because yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I know the pandemic, the virus, and all that is still floating around out there. But at this point, I don't know. I don't think they ended it on a federal level yet. I know states are like, no mask, this, that, and the third. But I don't know where they stand on the federal level. So I'm saying that to say, like, DC, like that's really the only area the original United States had was that 10 square miles. And that's a researchable, documented fact in law and history. That is really the United States, just that 10 square miles. But, you know, that's another lesson. But yeah, a lot of stuff there that they follow that heavy, you know what I'm saying, in DC. So yeah, yeah, man. But it's so much. It's so much. This is not even the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. It's so much stuff that's Moorish. And if you don't know Moorish history, if you don't study it, you won't even recognize it. But when your eyes really, when we say eyes wide open, like, yo, it real. Means a lot when you go in there. Yeah, to see this stuff for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, eyes wide open, like, oh, okay, that's Moorish. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is a Moorish building. There's arches everywhere. Everywhere you turn, everything is arch. Everything is dome-like. Yeah. What they call cathedral ceilings and all that, that's Moorish architecture. Really.
Yep, pillars, arches, and domes. That's the pillars, arches, and domes. You ain't getting nothing more than that.
And they got all of that. Pillars, arches, and domes. All of that is in there. You know what I'm saying? The rotunda, all of that is in there. So I think, like, just that fact alone, like, people say or think they're going to go to the Library of Congress to see if the Europeans are going to validate AA22141 and whatnot. But the thing is, the whole foundation of that building is Moorish. Start there, right? And then you get to words in English letter and all of that. But you having a little bit on the brain about Moorish architecture and style and symboliography and whatnot, you got to read a lot to even get to the books in black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the main message. Like, do not sleep on that. Don't sleep on the symbology first. You know what I'm saying? The design first, the architecture first, and
I think even when we went there, I think we were outside looking at the architecture outside for an hour. Like just the stuff outside we were looking at for an hour. And then we went inside and like I said, it was just a vortex. You went in there and then we got out and we're like, what the hell just happened? Like what the hell just happened? Where did we just go? You know what I mean? No, and then of course you have the little instances with, the tour doing the little tours and, tour guides giving you little, little hidden stuff or whatever like that, little gems that you're like, oh damn, this is actually a real thing. This Moorish thing is a real thing. This is not some, Juali pulled this out of his little satchel or something like that. This is some ancient stuff that we're tied to. You know what I mean? That once you tap in, trust me, worlds and universes are going to open up to you once you tap into this. It's crazy.
That's major.
Yeah.
Yup, definitely, just like that. And yeah, you literally, if you really paying attention, man, like you could get stuck in one wing for an hour.
Yeah.
Just really analyzing the room. Like if you really analyzing the detail, you could really be in one room for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then you see stuff that have you in awe, and then you got to deal with the shock of, like, yo, this is really just right here, like this. Everything we've been talking about, this is just in here, just like that, in picture, like art format. Like really, it be like that, bro. So yeah, man, very interesting, and I'm sure there's many places like that, but the information is so open in a sense, but you gotta kind of know something prior to, which is why studying is important, because then you go in these places and you decode the whole room. You know what I'm saying? Like you could decode the whole room just knowing your history and customs and culture. You see it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, much respect for that.
Oh yeah.
All of those buildings.
Oh yeah, and don't get caught up either with this thing of because we're talking about Library of Congress and whatever like that. There's places right where you domicile. You don't got to travel half across the planet and all that stuff. Right where you domicile, there's buildings, libraries, whatever, right there that you can go and you're gonna experience the same thing, maybe on a smaller scale, but you're gonna experience the same thing of seeing your culture all around you, and you'll be sitting there saying the exact same thing. That damn, this thing is right here. This has always been right here, and I've never even had the thought that this is right here in my face. So make sure that you don't get caught up in the thing of, it's the Library of Congress, and then you live near Cali or something, and you're trying to go to DC to see this stuff, and then you didn't even check the stuff in Cali yet. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a major fact. Like even the time when we went to Pittsburgh, I think we went a couple of times.
Yeah.
And never forget, in the East Liberty section of so-called Pittsburgh, there was this tall, huge, this was so beautiful. And I knew it wasn't a church. I seen it and I'm like, that's a castle, fam.
Mm-hmm.
That's a castle. And it's scraping, it's just scraping the sky, you know what I mean? I see a lot of like skyscrapers on the East Coast. It's kind of, don't get me wrong, there is brick and mortars, but a lot of them modern day are glass and steel, right? Like they're glass and steel. It's not real skill craftsmanship, and I'm not saying that doesn't take a skill, But I'm saying when you looking, you know, at skyscrapers that's done with brick and mortar, that's done with stone and mortar, it hit different. You know what I'm saying? It hits really different because that was straight up. That was a straight up castle, and the motifs on it were Moorish. They had the hand of Fatima. I went inside. They had like this cloth with all of the flags on it, and Morocco was on there. They had a painting of like they in one room they had like a bunch of ashes in the drawer, like people who were cremated. But there was a painting of indigenous Moor in there, and this is in the church. You know what I'm saying? It blew my mind. And then the brother was explaining that there were these stones. They were like ashlars all around the front perimeter with a chess table. And he was explaining to me how the ashlars were actually the filters for the water system at this church, so-called church. I saw it as a cat or a temple. So you see all of these big rocks or stones or ashlars in the front, but that was a part of the irrigation system. You wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in the time we went to Cincinnati, we were riding through, and it was a place called Moundville. And before I even knew it was called Moundville, I'm like, yo, these are not mountains. These are mounds.
Yeah.
I know we're looking at mounds right now. I don't know what mounds these are, but these are mounds. And then like 5 minutes later up the road, it says, welcome to Moundville. I'm like, yeah, that's because these are mounds. You know what I'm saying? You know how they name places strategically. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. So the architecture and all of that definitely is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was definitely Moorish architecture. And that's how you know. You know what I'm saying? People like, what does Moors contributed to society? Look around your city. You know what I mean? Like, look at the architecture style.
For real.
Real talk. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, word. Jay Blaze Bay says in the chat, he tripped out when he found out Compton Cemetery was Moorish architecture. Shout out to everybody in the chat. See? I never heard about that. That's dope. But yeah, look at that. You know what I mean? And I know there's some sort of science with mausoleums. I'm not sure if that's people not wanting to bury and hold on to the dead, or that may be something to do with mummifying. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah. It says all the oldest buildings this way in Khalifa is Moorish architecture. Facts. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's real talk. Mostly everywhere. Everywhere. All those old buildings in those cities, they really be Moorish design. You know? Yeah. Absolutely. But again, this is what I mean by the science of masonry. What is masonry symbolic of? It's symbolic of that completion, building the temple. It says in the Mysteries of the Brotherhood of the East, building the temple not made with hands, and all of that. Yeah, all of that. And then even in the Library of Congress, it tells you the only temple in the universe is the body of man. No, it says there is but one temple in the universe, and that is the body of man. So again, to me, that kind of like ends this argument of Moors trying to diss Moors who are not quote unquote members of the Moor Science Temple of America, because at the end of the day, the first temple is the body. You know what I'm saying? And keeping that as the foundation, everything is manifested secondary to that, like what we as people manifest. You know what I mean? So that's it first and foremost, and I get it, everything is mental, but the body is the vessel to, carry out the will in a sense. So yeah, man, like I don't know. I think it just goes right back to what we started with, it being about a people, like Moor being a nationality and not a religion, right? Even though Moors founded divine creeds, like those creeds didn't found us as a people. We founded those creeds. You know what I mean? And I think we got to keep that pristine. Or there's going to be, like Noble Drew Ali said, religious controversy. This person is a Muslim. This person says, I am Allah. You know what I'm saying? Another person says, you know, they believe in Jesus. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, we're all people first, and everything is secondary to that. So yeah. All right. So yeah, with that being said, Moore, we don't have any. We have a few callers, but no one with their hand up. I don't know if you want to add on or close out, or say anything in closing. You don't have to drag it, but I think we made the point as far as Moors having the culture and the custom.
Definitely, yeah. We definitely made the point as usual. You know what I mean? And I think it was a good segue with regard to everything going on. People getting out of their lockdown sleep, and getting back into living again. That you don't get caught up in the nonsense out there. Make sure you're putting in your studying, making sure you're doing your own due diligence and using your discernment so you can figure this stuff out. Because like we said, if Drew Ali's saying Canaanite temple and the temple is the body, he's talking about you. If he's talking about more science, and we already know science is study and Moorish is the people, the temple is the body. So don't get caught up in this building thing, even though there's a building called temple and you should go there and you should support it and you should, do what you can once you know that there is a temple to make sure they stay open or whatever the case is. Don't lose sight of the fact that the body is as well the temple. And that you got two temples for yourself. So, stay diligent, and honors to all the Moors worldwide, and happy holy day to all the Moors everywhere, especially the sincere and faithful Moors. Honors to you all, and honors to you, Ms. and the mothers and all the other Moors out there that are doing what they can to uplift fallen humanity.
Indeed, likewise, bro, likewise. But before we go, someone did put their hand up, and I just want to take the question or comment before we spin out.
Yeah.
Leave nobody behind me. All right. So with that being said, we're going to take caller 682-360. You live on the air. Peace, man.
Islam.
You ready?
Islam, can you hear me?
Islam, Moore.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I give praise to Allah, the one and true God, creator, the founder. I give honor to Marcus Garden. I give honor to you, Lord, for keeping this thing going and continuing to educate the Moors and put people on about the information. I give honor to each human being and all of humanity. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And with that, more, I give honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali for bringing us to true wisdom and enlightening us with the truth that's been held in secret for so long. Noble Drew Ali said he's going to tear down the secret institution of Masonry. Because he brought us, like he was saying earlier, what they speak about. The secret. The secret is us. Right? You see in what's that movie? National Treasure.
Yep.
At the beginning, when he goes into the ring, you see the gold, it's pictures of us. Right? So
I give honor to Nova Drawley for bringing us that. You know what I'm saying? And he really brought us to see, to a lot of things. Like he was saying in our questionnaire, he said, who are the mothers? What do you think? Who are Adam and Eve? And the answer was, they are the mothers and fathers of the human family, right? And at the end, he also says Asiatic and Muslim, right? So he's making two distinctions of the original people. Who they would call Adam and Eve. First of all, he makes three distinctions. He says mothers, and he says fathers, plural, right? Meaning that Adam was one person, Eve was one person.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on to say they were Asiatic and they were Muslim. Why were they Asiatic? Because they descended out of the land of Canaan, out of Mecca, right? The holy city, right? And when you look at Mecca, what you call the Middle East, ain't no such thing as the Middle East, right? It's on the continent of Asia. So when the first physical people walked out, they walked out as Asiatic. But they were also Muslims. You see? And they honored their creator. They submitted to the will of Allah, right, as being the creator, the father of the universe. He brought us this great questionnaire for our conception so we can understand who we were. First question you ask is, who made you? Allah. Who is Allah? He is the father of the universe, which we stay in the universe, right? But he also said we have a higher self and a lower self. You know what I'm saying? So he told us that you also are a part of that creation, right? You also are part of the creator, just like all things that was created by Allah. But you also have a lower self. You also have a foe that you must fight, and temptations and things that you're going to suffer while you trying to become the strength of Allah. He told us that these things are within you. Nobody had ever told me that before the Prophet Nationality. Right? And so, when you look at these things, you'll start to see who we truly are in connection with all other living things. Right? That's a real Nationality knowledge. You see what I'm saying? When I talk to some of my Mason friends that practice Masonry, they always tell me it's in the heart. It's in the heart. He told us, where's the nearest place you can meet him? In the heart. In the heart. You know what I'm saying? And he also told us that we were the founders of the Holy City of Mecca. We are the original founders of civilization or civilizing people. And then we went west. Go west on that. We went west. Right? Now this is later on after, Ham and Kush. They went to Africa, cultivated this move. And
the pharaohs, our brothers, they all had the same father and mother. They came out of Asia too, right? They went into Egypt and settled Egypt. So you got Upper Egypt and Lower Kush, right? And then the Moabites who traveled through gained permission from the pharaoh. Why did they need permission? Because Egypt was the capital. It was the only civilized place in Africa at one point in time. Right? And so then you got the Moabites who went west and settled the west. Noah Charlie put this in his information, man, and it just baffled me because when I understand that, and he told us that the pharaohs drudged the Niger River so that they can trade with those who settled in the West, right? And then I watched this documentary on PBS. It was called Africa's Greatest Civilizations or something like that. I think you can get it on Amazon for like $14, $15. But in this documentary, they went around all of the civilizations of Africa, right? When they began to tell the story about how kingdoms came up, they ruled, they civilized, and then they fell, right? Well, if you understand, that's why I know y'all told us to get a good understanding of world history. And you'll see right there after Jesus died, right? You'll see, or Yahshua, you'll see that about a century later, or a few centuries later, you'll see the Roman Christianity form, and then they enslaved the world. They enslaved a lot of minds for a long time until you see Muhammad, the conqueror, come on the scene around 600. Now, the prophet, what he told us about Muhammad the conqueror, right? In the divine warning, not the divine warning, divine origin of the Asiatic nation. You'll see that in line 7 it says the Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founder of the United Kingdom of Islam, by the command of the great universal God, Allah. So they are the United Kingdom, that of Islam. When you go back into Muhammad's teachings of the Holy Quran of Mecca, you see that even Muhammad himself, the Prophet Muhammad, tells you that he didn't create Islam. That's why the Prophet came and told us, what is your religion? Islam. He said, is that a new or old time religion? Because a lot of people think that Islam is something new. But we've been practicing Islam before Muhammad brought it. It just had to be reunited because we fell, right? With the Christians, when that Christian crusade happened, and they started to colonize the world, go out and start colonizing the world under the Pope, right? Then it wasn't until Muhammad came to reunite Islam, and then you seen the great civilization being brought from the Moor. Once we were back under that Islamic creed, once we understood how to harmonize and be in harmony with things around us, all living things,
He ruled. He created some of the best universities, the first university, right? He created some of the best trade routes, right? He created civilization was thriving. Our kingdom was thriving. So we understood that war wasn't better than us trading, you know what I'm saying, and doing what we had to do economically. So you've seen civilization thrive. You've seen us go into Europe and bring them out of the darkness and thrive. You've seen Alhambra and the Taj Mahal and great artworks and geometry and street lights and so many other things, right, that came out of this civilization, right, out of our civilization, because we allow people to practice how they want to practice. When they come in and say, hey, you gonna change my religion, I'm gonna kill you. That ain't how it happens. You know what I'm saying? You came in and said, you practice how you want to. But also, you know, listen to the truth. You say the truth. Out of truth, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You rule for thousands of years. At least 1,000, right?
Yeah. Longer than 1,000, definitely.
Right.
Longer than 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, and some people are being modest when they say 250,000. Like, longer than that.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. I mean, if you were to go back to that ancient state of mind of your foremothers and forefathers, as Noble Dry Lee was saying, what does that look like? You know what I mean? Like, what were they not thinking about? Like, who were they not thinking about? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's so much that goes with that. But I do want to say this, too, before we close out. I was mentioning earlier about the quote, tribes of North America and the Moors of Britain having a similar custom of reverence for the mistletoe. And I just want to say this because, you know, law and history go together. So I definitely want to drop this from enumeration 40 out of the Institutes of American Law, right? Now, it starts off and it says, what the 14th Amendment says. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. It says citizenship does not now depend upon color or race, though in some states the right of suffrage is confined to, quote, white persons. And this is what I wanted to highlight because of them mentioning the tribes of North America or the Moors of North America and the Moors of Britain. And it says, again, in this enumeration 40, Institutes of American Law, it says the Aborigines or persons of the Indian race, and I'm interjecting here, we know that Indian race is a misnomer, but it does say the Aborigines or persons of the Indian race are not, in general, citizens of the United States and can exert no political rights. The tribes are regarded as separate political communities, and the individuals are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And I'm saying that because, yes, we know the Moors of North America and the Moors of Britain are actually the same family. But the concept of not being citizens of the United States for Aboriginal indigenous people is not something R.V. Bay Publications made up. It's not something Noble Dry Lee made up. This is known in law, right? And Noble Dry Lee was specific about the type of citizenship he was saying that if we were to claim, should claim, which again, I can't emphasize enough, the fact that there's a difference between American citizenship and United States citizenship. And I wanted to highlight that, you know what I mean, because of the fact that the indigenous or aboriginal people of America, as it said in ancient and modern Britons, have a correlation with the Moors of Britain. It's a known fact that aboriginals are not, quote unquote, in general, citizens of the United States. We didn't make that up. That is American law. And I just wanted to say that because we are, in fact, Aboriginal indigenous here. So again, you know, that's a reference. Y'all check that out. But yeah, that's just the fact of law. Like we didn't make that up. It's not.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
the indigenous people, they still to this day are federally recognized as being their own nation. Right? You'll see Cherokee Nation, right? As far as him being politically recognized. Now, as far as us, right? Because that's those group of people, right? And some of us mix within the blood. But when you're talking about the Moors, right? They wrote us in the Constitution as 3/5 all other persons. They listed free persons, and they listed Indians, and they listed all other 3/5 of all other persons. Right?
Yeah.
So they trying to take our nationality from us and label us as Negroes, Blacks, and Colored so they can use us for free labor, right? Or claim us as like property so they can use us for free labor. But the thing about it is, all of that free labor still is thriving to this day. It's what built this structure that's thriving to this day. So you had the South and the North at war, right? The South didn't want to free the slave. So you had people joining the Union, the Army, in order to take some of these people out in the South, right? So that Noah Jolly understood that, hey, this is an investment. And when investments and stocks start falling, I don't say, you know what, I'm going to leave that alone and walk away from my money. I still need that. That's an investment. This is an investment that my ancestors put into this. Right? And so, you see on the bottom of the nationality card, I have a U.S.A. Well, Noah Jolly understood that one day the Moors will be running this, what you see today. He said, y'all just plain rich and y'all don't even know it. Because we got invested in the greatest country wouldn't be the greatest country today without us. Without the tribute of the Moor. Now what he said was claim your nationality. So that you have a national flag and a national name. And then this great civilization then becomes yours. That man was wise. He was prophet for a reason.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound arrogant when I say this, but like from what I've studied in world history, like it's not just this country. Like the world, Moors contributed so much to the world, like all over. You know what I mean? Like just what we did in Spain alone, right? Like that's amazing. You know, and some of these tools we invented, something as simple as the pen, to this day is still being utilized. Telescopes, you know, all of these things, astronomy observatories, I mean, colleges, first universities, I mean, like all over the planet. So yes, while our contribution is definitely impactful here in America, it's not just here. It's all over the planet, and that's amazing. So you really think about it. These things that we contributed are still utilized to this day. Like that's an indelible mark on society. You know what I mean? Like that's indelible, and so yeah. But also the fact that whatever they said about us in the Constitution itself ties us back because according to the Constitution, all contracts and engagements entered into before its adoption shall be valid and binding against the United States. So the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is clear language, identifying Moors, and that's a fact. So, Indian is definitely a misnomer. We know that. And, because when you think about it, even a lot of the stuff that they're utilizing, again, they already learned some of that in Spain. And then they learned some of the agriculture or acre culture when they got here, as far as the terrains and things like that. So, we was always teaching, because we the ones who knew. And, of course, there's different philosophies and, viewpoints that they had. Again, there's a reason we had to teach them how to bathe. Like, that causes diseases, you know what I mean? Like, all of that. Right. It's not to be arrogant. It's a fact of history. Like, it's not to say we're better than, and it's just the fact of history,
Mm-hmm. Fact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like you said in chapter 47 on that note, it says, the Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the Pharaoh of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite brothers who sojourn from the land of Canaan, seeking home. It says their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the Great Atlantic. Also, the present North, South, and Central America, Mexico, and the Atlantic Islands, where the great earthquake is called the Great Atlantic Ocean. Right? So all of this is under the dominion, right? Which we know dominion is rule or control and inhabitation of the Moabites. So all of these, even up into Spain, North Africa, what you call Ghana, right? Nigeria, all of these northwestern nation states, let me say that, modern day nation states, and all over into the Atlantic Islands, South, Central, and America. All of these are Moabites, or under the dominion of the Moabites and habitation, which means we inhabited those places. Right? So then, when you get into modern day nations, as far as Ghana and all of these places that came afterwards, after the Moabites had already settled, then you start seeing these modern day nations. But I think the one thing that the prophet wanted us to understand is that we need to unite. All our strength is in numbers. All our strength is in numbers. So he understood that what he told us. All of these people, even if we look back into the Eastern world, right? You look back at Turkey and
Japanese, Chinese, all of these people, Indians, the true Indians, India, right? The Arabs, all of these people, and all across the world are Asiatic originally.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have the same mother and same father, right? And so once we realize this, that's why he got that hand on the Quran question for Moorish Americans. You got a hand shaking each other, right? Two hands shaking, and underneath it says Asia. And once we realize that we all are brothers and sisters, right? With different shades of olive. You look at the olive, many shades. Then that's where our strength comes from. You know what I'm saying? And so it's so frustrating to me to see our Moorish brothers divided over here, divided over there, with this concept, that concept, this concept. Why can't we come together and unite? Noble Ali brought us the divine constitution and bylaws so that we all could unite in one pattern, one way. Not to say that you don't have a different portion of understanding than I do. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that I can't teach you something or you can't teach me nothing. That's just to say that overall, we have one goal, and that's unity for our salvation through Allah. You got Allah in you, I got Allah in you, and all things are created by Allah and have the spirit of Allah that dwells within it. Then I can unite better, knowing that.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think that's the issue, though. I think that's the issue is that even with what you just said, some people don't see it like that. Some people are looking at it as if they know a lot better than everybody else. So because of that, you know, there's no uniting because they got the Holy Quran and method, and nobody else do. In their mind, they, you know, people don't know what type of citizen they are or if we are or not. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many reasons why. I mean, and it's all clear about what it is, but because like people are not studying, that's why when we come on here, like we try to give you the same references that we have so that anybody listening could go do the research and find out that like what we're sharing is actual fact. We didn't make it up. And then based on that, like, you know, you could unite off of, okay, yeah, we are on the same page, literally, right? Like, there's a certain decorum of, yeah, we look out for our people first, like every other thing in nature. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, you got people who are jealous, like don't think that there aren't proclaimed Moors who still got to deal with the energies of their lower self. Like, they're jealous, so they can't see, you know, a teacher, a Moor teaching right and exact, right? Like, they gotta, to them, they gotta, to be the man, they gotta degrade this person's character, right? They want to talk about their mamas and the whole nine. And in the times we're in now, it's like whoever gets on social media and talks the most BS is who people follow. When we're not really supposed to be on it like that. You know, these, like, you see the agents in the movement, you know what I'm saying? Like, we see them, they're on full display. All you gotta do is type in on YouTube, and they're out there. Like, we don't see them. Like, we see it. Like, everybody sees it. And they're like, so brazen, they're proud to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a way to be proud to be. But we could see it. So, like, jealousy, right? When we talk about the energies of the lower self, there's an element of jealousy of certain teachers. Like, I respect all of those who came before us. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, damn, because Bobby Hemmett taught about Moors years ago, I gotta go destroy him. Or Khalid Muhammad proclaimed he was a Moor. I gotta, tear down his legacy so I can be the Moor that everybody listens to. Like, it's a lot of that going on. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's like, yo, they did what they did. Okay, they may be right or wrong, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But to attack somebody's character in these days and times, like, that's the way to get a rep up. This is what people got to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, it's jealousy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no veneration or respect for those who did. Like, imagine, right, Noble Dry Lee being jealous of Marcus Garvey. Like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? We know that it wasn't the case. He gave him honors for doing the groundwork, and he came behind him and gave what he esteemed and realized were missing pieces, right? Like, he made nationality a real thing for the people. It always was, but he identified what it was. So the work of Marcus Garvey is appreciated because the people were open to the concept. Now he's like, this is our nationality. Now there's something real about it. You know what I mean? So people don't want to add on to what's already there. It's like, they gotta be the only right and exact person, which they're showing their own lower self, and we see it. But all of them are getting their just due as we speak. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just like that.
And then, and to add on to that too, the whole concept of, because I've been saying this for years, that, if I can call Brother Sheldon near Germany, and I can call, Brother Albacete near Switzerland, and I can count, 30 to 40 of the so-called states that I could contact Moors in, and then I can go through all these different so-called provinces out here and find Moors there. There's definitely Moorish unity. And people who are saying that there's no Moorish unity, they need to check the Moors that they're around, because there's Moorish unity. There's definitely Moorish unity. The only time there's no Moorish unity is if it's people who aren't around the right Moors. But if you're around the right Moors, definitely there's Moorish unity. Matter of fact, speaking about Moorish unity, I'm going to be near Houston for the 21st of January, 2023. Again, because Moorish unity, because Moors in Houston know what's up. They know who, they know who to bring the lecture. So we're going to be out there putting that work in for the Moors near Houston. So any Moors that are out there, you could email canaanlandguide@gmail.com for more information. And then look out, because we're going to be near Atlanta soon. We're going to be near Virginia. We're going to be near Springfield, Massachusetts. We're going to be near some other places. So know that there's Moorish unity, and it's about what Moors are you revolving with. Once you're revolving with the right Moors, you would definitely be unified with Moors who are on the same wavelength as you. But I yield the floor.
You going to Temple 35 up there in Houston?
Say that again?
You going to Temple number 35 out there in Houston?
Oh no, there's just Moors who are out there that, they don't do the church temple thing. So they wanted to have some, I guess, some other Moors than the Moors who are there to teach them something. Because obviously those Moors there aren't doing what they're supposed to do, or they wouldn't be calling all the way to Canaanland to get some lectures from Cujo.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I do know Temple 35, they about to build a grocery store. Them Moors, they doing some big things down there. But yeah, you know, each person, they got a portion of understanding. You're right. You know, everybody got something that they bring to the table. And I appreciate y'all bringing, you know, the information, the books, you know, many different aspects of the Moorish information that I've been keeping going for years, you know. And, you know, I see Moors with temples, you know, doing their duty in the streets and, you know, feeding the homeless and all of that. And getting the message out there, the fine message, you know, having people proclaim their nationality, be put on the record. You know, I see more, you know, in LA, you know, they're doing their thing too, Chicago, you know. So I see, you know, I see over here, over there, you know, over there. But once we bring this thing together, man, and everybody put their portion together under that divine constitution, I think more is going to be doing what our ancestors were doing back, you know, before we fell. I see it more. Y'all just keep going what y'all doing, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to put it together, man.
Islam.
I appreciate y'all, man, giving me the time to, you know, speak my portion of understanding on this call every third Thursday. Yeah. And shout out to the mothers keep doing their thing.
Right, thanks, bro. We appreciate you. We got about 10 minutes to close out. So we do appreciate you more for a while there. All right, bro. And everybody that was tuned in, listening, for sure. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the point too. Like, yes, there absolutely is Moorish unity, but when the question is asked, like, why can't Moors unite? It's in the sense of those are probably the ones that can't unite because of the aspect of these different perspectives. Like, you know what I mean? Outside of that, you know, Moors are united. I do trust we respect each other as nationals. Yeah. But then you got those claiming to be nationals who don't get the full concept of what nationality is. And so when people are living their life accordingly in their national capacity, you got slaves, like slave-minded people who are looking at Moors as if they're tripping. They're not on what Noble Drew was teaching. And that's what I mean by, you know, not uniting with those people, because you stand on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Your concept of freedom is all the way up. And they just think, well, you know, some people think maybe it's because they didn't go to jail today that means they're free. But there's levels to it. You know what I'm saying? There's economic slaves. There's corporate slaves. There's so many slaves. You know what I mean? Like so when we say freedom, and there's so many levels to just that one principle alone, people are looking at it as, well, if you're not under the Roman yoke, you can't be free. Like, it's that bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally that bad for some, in their perspective. You know what I mean? So in that fashion, like, for lack of a better word, I don't think there could ever be unity between the type, and I don't want to say it like this, but a house Negro, field Negro, they're different, but yet they're both on the plantation, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about getting off of it altogether. But some people don't want to do that. So they're going to be left where they at, just like they was back in the day, while others move forward.
Yeah.
And then that's what I mean by, like, no unity. Not that there's not unity, it's just everybody's not on it like that. So, I mean, there's when we separate, because I mean, it's even spoken about in the Circle 7. Like Noble Drew Ali knew, you know what I'm saying? This is why in chapter 25, and when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you to love and unity. Not if you separate, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, and then people go apart, even if we was to look at the story of Abraham and Lot. They were brothers, you know what I'm saying? Always are going to be brothers. They just outgrew each other. They like if Lot had 40 cows and Abraham had 40 cows, and he's like, look, we're outgrowing each other. Let's settle somewhere, all right? So whichever way you want to go, I'll go the opposite way, and we'll settle and set up. We can still link up, still brothers, but we got to establish the abundance that we have. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not always a bad thing, but you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And yeah, so just from that perspective is what I'm saying. I know Moors, you know, that is our commonality, the fact that we are Moors, among other things. Mm-hmm. But all of us really are not on the same page. We ought be. It would be great if we was, but we can't even agree to what the 5 principles actually mean. Like, we all say we about it, but, you know, you get 100 of us in the room, some of us might have different answers to what freedom means, what justice is, what peace is, what truth, what love is. So, I mean, that in itself, and, you know. But, yeah, my fault, fam. I ain't going to drag on. We're going to close out for the evening. Oh, man, my fault. Peace. What was you saying, bro?
Oh, no, I was just saying peace and love, Moor.
Yeah, no doubt. Likewise. Thank you again for the session. Peace to everybody on Canaanland Moors 2. MHHS Eyes Wide Open. This Sunday, Sister Standing on Law. Be sure to tune into that. I know as well, you got the 13th annual Noble Drew Ali Day coming up, correct? Yeah. January 8th?
January 7th. Yes. January 7th. 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Anybody outside Canaanland, you could email canaanlandguide@gmail.com to get on the list. So we could send you the information. We're going to have online Michelle Gibson, Denham L, Jose Pimenta Bay, and Melissa McCletchy speaking on Moorish history and solving racism. That's the theme for Noble Drew Ali Day this year, 13th annual. And of course, catering, food catering by 5 Principles Catering. So we'll be all right. Islam.
Facts. Islamic, congratulations on the consistency. 13 years in. Big acknowledgement to you and all the Canaanland Moors. Y'all keep it going, man. For sure. All right. So definitely I'll be tuned into that. And we'll see y'all next month. Enjoy the winter solstice and send it up. All right. Peace, man. King Boom.
Watch out for agents and provocateurs. Try to get next to the heads with the doctor's cures. They never pay dues and don't pay dues. Contradicting with chaos, they get dues like news. Noble Drew Ali died from film or blues. Prophet saved him his money before the fall fell through, and that's true. Even though I don't have proof, stellar memory tells me don't fall for truth. Drop mental loop, hanging from their own vine from the fig tree. Looking up at them like baby. No white white flag or mercy for you fag. 5 point and pentagram is on our flag. Green, but not for cream. That dirty one took to throw off the balance of the grand treasury books. Getting offers like high school ballers. Those that infiltrate are not wars but robbers. Robbing the people blind, deaf, dumb, and crippled. They can't tear this up, not one drop or trickle. No matter how hard they try to perpetrate the fraud, dirty more always fall on their sword. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. You're not playing with us so simple and easy. From 19 how long the sea is sleazy. So sick, it's legally and disgusting. Everyone stood there. The Moors did nothing when Jew was attacked. They took the covenant that they will protect them and have his back. Behind on dues by 4 months. Going to Kangaroo new courts to perform stunts. Temple versus temple. Lawsuits from inner fight. Not doing their job 3,500 for birthright. Movie stores are supposed to be in Gucci stores that gotta thank Allah for the Sufi more than Buddhist Naga. Moorish Mike Renaissance, not rap sagas. Confusion clearer. Every battle scar wearer. Moorish nationality declarer. Straighten out the crooked ways, rap conduct squarer. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Let me strip them down, I'm the bone bearer. Negro, black, colored, minority, death repairer. Not the being, but the label attached. See me like Martin, going crazy, waving gas. Cause they call yourself black, that's a kicking sign on your life. Can't stab your enemy, holding the blade of the knife. None from MC's throats or all that. I'm pulling down on t-shirts like Skullcap. The torture, the rapper, scissor, shivers. Rapper, CD, scratcher, insert ripper. Call me Jack and get flasso. Admiral, when I flow, major like Macro. Don't sit on a cameraman like Blackwell. But beat the case like Black Bill, but no lawyer. Ask Jim Carrey, liar, do nothing for you while they get rich and for you. Make you follow magistrate orders that get the coke, the snort from hood corners and block ghetto. All I see is rappers, dress codes, repetto, tight shirts, skinny jeans looking like heavy metal bands. I'm not made but L like bread and hands. I grab mics, no sweating hands. With good right brand, I don't worry about getting scanned. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, they know what you are. Start profiting.